Hello YouTube, another status update on the Bendini motor Meg setup. So this Meg is not connected to anything and we stopped running. We've been running for 96 hours now, and I went ahead and put the oscilloscope on my source battery. So this is the battery that was getting drawn power to power that pulse motor. And so I measured, as you recall, negative zero point 0.3 volts on this. Remember last time? So now, oh, by the way, I since the last time I added this cat bank as I updated you guys already, and I also ran this in generator mode. So that switch that you can see right there pointed this way, that's generator mode. Pointed that way is SG mode. That switch is on off. So right now it's on, even though it's off technically because it's not moving. But check this out. So we're on that battery and we're at, obviously, we're measuring DC. And as you can see, we're at 1 volt per division. And when we look at this screen, it's positive voltage. So if we were conservative and assumed that the big squares were 1 volt, we're at, just above 1.5 volts. I can't dial down the focus. It's a little too bright to notice that. It's above 1.5 slightly, but it is. So we'll go ahead and go to AC mode, and you can see it snaps back to 0. So, the ground is snaps back to 0. So as you can see, we are converting cold energy into real power. Okay, so now we're going to measure what is called the charge battery. So I'm calling this the source battery connected to red and black, and I'm always going to call this the charge battery connected to the yellow and the white. So I'm going to switch the source and the charge every once in a while, but we're going to put the negative and then the positive on here and measure that. Alrighty, so now I have the oscilloscope connected to the positive terminal of my charge battery, which is got a reversal blocking diode to the Bendini motor. So there's no back EMF with the Bendini. So we're gonna follow this down to the oscilloscope. Oh wow, that's weird. That's so weird. Oh, look at our ground. Why is that happening? Why that's happening is because we're still switching flux in this despite this not running. You see? Pretty cool. Oh, whoa. It's getting wild. See, it responds to the environment and stuff too. And that's a decent amount of energy that it's picking up. I'm going to touch it. I just touched it. Okay, stop touching it. Kind of odd. So let's connect that ground because, that's not a real reading. That doesn't count. I'm just going to touch it here because it's easier. Oh, look, positive, real power, real voltage of around 3 volts because we're at still a 1 volt per division, and we're going to assume that the big squares are 1 volt. So if we were to say, oh, well, these small squares are actually the volts per division, you see that there's 5 per, so we're at 15 volts. Um, Honestly, I don't know which one is the volts per division, and if I were technically reading this right, I think it would be the small marks. So I honestly think it's up to like 15 volts, but my multimeter was fried from doing this project, and I'm waiting on the parts, which I should get in tomorrow. But as you can see, we still are centered on 0 overall, yet we're able to convert negative power to real positive energy using these capacitors and these batteries that ring like a bell. So earlier, when I did not have these on, we were measuring negative voltage, and it was still able to run no problem. And I did that to show you guys what's really going on. And I added these to show you what capacitors really do. And these are not even supercapacitors. So people will tell you, you need a supercapacitor, you need a supercapacitor. Supercapacitors are awesome because they have rutiles in them, which allow for the Bethe-Hilter process to happen a lot easier. However, it's not necessarily needed to get over unity. And I wanted to show that. I wanted to show that it's not necessarily the material specifically, but how you switch the flux. And as long as you have a Casimir cavity, you can capture 0 point energy. And that's why I used regular capacitors and have not used supercapacitors. So moving forward, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a large supercapacitor and I'm going to store a ton of energy into that. And I'm going to try to show you guys even more definitively that we can get real power and use it. So that's my goal moving forward. And I noticed that when I add this here and I have it flipped, it's kind of gonna pulse this. It seems like it almost resists it, and then this is pulsing back and forth, and so I flipped it and have this pointed that way, and I believe this is my south pole, and so I have my south attracted to my north facing this way on because the wheel has north facing out, and so I'm trying to kind of create this difference in height and angle in attraction mode to assist the flux all the way through here and assist the back EMF of this coil going back and forth with this flux of this. And then I'm trying to take the flux going across here and I'm trying to wring it out so that this plasmoid that's forming, because I'm creating a plasma toroid that's in the cold plasma regime. But you can't see it, but I believe that's what's happening. Correct me if I'm wrong. I could be totally wrong on that. But anyways, I'm using these as like additional little energy coils because they're equal length to this, and um, it seems to influence the motor in its resonant state, but it just finds its own equilibrium. So like if I move this transformer across my house, this will have to readjust into equilibrium. If I drive into my garage, it has to readjust to equilibrium, and so on and so forth. So I found that bringing these in does affect it, but leaving them here doesn't necessarily once I adjust the pot to get this running back in decent resonance. Something else I learned is that if these capacitors are relatively large in size, what you want to do is add smaller capacitors across the positive and negative to amplify the energy capture ability of this larger capacitor. And ideally, what you do is take um, multiples that go into each other. So let's say this is 100 microfarads. You would want like 1 and 10 and 0.1. See how they all like are scalar multiples of each other. And that way it creates a sort of fractal geometry of energy. And I think that's important because when these scalar waves are propagating and interfering with each other, you want it to be in a way that works with each other instead of hurting each other. And so by having a scalar multiple of each other, what I believe is that it's more effective. And my experimentation, I think, kind of shows that. Um, so yeah, just a couple things to show you guys. And let's just start it. Like, let's just see. So this one's really high voltage and this one is lower voltage. So either this is 3 and 1 or this is like 15 and 5. I don't really know how to correctly read the volts per division on this O-scope because I don't have the manual. And I tried looking it up, but I don't know. So I'm trying to be conservative and assume that the big square is my volts per division and how I've been analyzing it the whole time, and I've been consistent with that. So it doesn't really matter. Once I get my multimeter, I will be able to confirm that. Um, so yeah, we'll just swap these positives. Ka-chow. a little awkward. I need a relay. That's what I need. I need to get the relay that is on kenergy.store. Well, I don't need to, but it sure would be handy. All right, a lot slower to do by hand, but I got it done. Just want to make sure that's not touching because I want to transfer voltage, not current. Right there. Okay. So now the oscope is not hooked up. So let's get hooked up. Let's do the charge battery so you can see the pulse. So as you can see, we swapped the leads. The switch is still on, and we are measuring the same voltage. Oh wait. So I guess we're at like 2-ish volts now over here measuring on this battery. All right, so we're still in generator mode. It's on. I'm going to turn the pot all the way down through it, and you can see the pot. All right, so turning it to the right is all the way down. Turning to the left is turning up. This is a 1K pot, 25 watts. All the way turned down. You can see the current right there. I turn this up. Sorry, the vibration. So as you can see, it kind of will find a sweet spot in this pot. So I just found that sweet spot. So, okay. So we are hooked up to this battery and we're still measuring that. So once again, we're at 96 hours of runtime. And if you've been following my videos, you know that my batteries were dead and they were measuring even negative voltage for a period of time. And now with my adjustance of my capacitors, I've turned that into a higher voltage, a positive voltage in these batteries, and it's still going. So anyways, thanks for watching, and go check out Timtron's channel for more mega information. Go check out kenergy.store for that Bendini motor, and continue to check out my channel, and I'll keep giving you guys updates. Thank you. Have a great day.